Hey y'all, I'm Brooke Hoover, a Louisiana native, actor, writer, and comedian. I've lost 100 pounds through diet and exercise, or shall I say, lifestyle changes. My 20-year and counting health journey has taught me that just like taking a diet pill for weight loss, body positivity doesn't magically happen overnight. I'm working on regaining my self-esteem and rekindling my love affair with Cajun and Southern comfort food in a healthier way, all the while juggling eating as clean as I can, reestablishing myself in the entertainment industry, which, as we know, is historically fat-phobic, all the while showing my inner fat girl some love. That's fat with a PH. Pretty hot and tempting. Let me tell y'all a tale or two. If Christmas is supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, well, y'all, for me, and I think for many of us, this period after Christmas, but before New Year's Day is like the most weirdest time of the year. It's weird. It's like the day after going to an amusement park. Or for my fellow actors, y'all will understand this, the day after the run of a show, the day after a play that you're in closes. But it's also cold as hell on top of it. So unless you have a trip planned to like Punta Cana, which is also probably crowded as hell, and who wants to deal with that, then you're in this soup of in between Christmas and New Year's poop with the best of us. And for me, especially when I was younger, I would give myself so much anxiety because I would put a lot of pressure on having to do something really cool, really eventful, like in those 80s movies I grew up on for New Year's Eve. And if I didn't have plans, I told myself that meant I was a huge loser with an L. What movie was that from? Was that from Clueless with the L, loser? Gosh, I'm a loser for not even knowing my pop culture references from back in the day. But speaking of, do y'all remember that movie 200 Cigarettes? So one of my best friends in high school and I loved it. I still have the CD of the soundtrack for it. Actually, I should put that in my car. Yes, my car still does have a CD player. It's awesome because that movie came out in the late 90s, but it took place in the 80s. So okay, in a nutshell, Martha Plimpton's character is planning a New Year's Eve party. She's like super type A and dressed up all cute. She's all ready for people to arrive to her party, but no one shows up. So she gets upset and sad and and she starts drinking and drinking and drinking to drown her sorrows of being a big loser who's having a party that no one wants to attend. Meanwhile, in other parts of the movie, everyone is trying to find their way to her party, but Martha Plimpton is totally oblivious to it. She's unaware of it, and she basically gets so drunk that she passes out and wakes up the next morning to find out that everyone from like Dave Chappelle to Christina Ricci came to her super fun, successful party, even Elvis Costello. And I say that with a lot of emphasis because she's a huge Elvis Costello fan. And I really think like this is a metaphor for life, y'all. Maybe it means that we have to be patient, to bask in the stillness, to sit in the, because maybe, just maybe, a ton of rousing good things will happen, but you don't want to be too drunk, metaphorically or literally, or too blinded by our own sadness to see them. I mean, especially if it's like Elvis Costello showing up on your couch, or Barry Manilow, if that's more your speed, or for me, it's Lionel Richie, of course. The amount of pressure to do something wonderful for New Year's Eve, it took me away from enjoying the actual holidays, like just enjoying life, from reflecting on the past year, creating new hopes and dreams for the year to come. I didn't do any of that. I just got anxious over the fact that I didn't have anything cool to do for New Year's Eve. So I remember one New Year's Eve, it was my senior year of high school. I spent it with the same best friend who loved 200 Cigarettes, and we were just going from party to party, most of which we weren't even invited to. We just found out about them or randomly went to people's addresses and hoped they were having parties, and some of them were. And it was just really like, what are you doing here, Brooke? And it was super awkward. So we ended up at a party, and the house of a student in my friend's year. She was a couple years younger than me. She was a sophomore when I was a senior. And I totally remember feeling like that person, like that person who's graduated college and still comes back for the high school parties. But y'all, I hadn't even graduated yet, but I still felt super awkward showing up uninvited to a party for kids 2 years younger than me. The best part of that New Year's Eve, it wasn't the parties that we crashed. I don't even remember the parties, really. It wasn't the food or the illegal underage drinking, sad to say. It was wandering around with my best friend. Much like Gabby Hoffman and Christina Ricci's characters in 200 Cigarettes, except they were from Long Island and freezing and lost in the alphabet city of New York City, walking around in heels. And my BFF and I were cruising around South Baton Rouge in my Mustang with the air conditioner on while talking about the trailer for 200 Cigarettes. It hadn't yet come out, but we were super excited for it. We had just seen the trailer in the movie theater probably a couple days before New Year's Eve. The next New Year's Eve would be bringing in the millennium, the year 2000. Do y'all remember that? When everything was supposed to crash and things were supposed to break and it was supposed to be the end of the world. Remember that? And all I could think of then, and actually all I think of to this day, is Mark Cohen and Roger from Rent singing, "We're living in America at the end of the millennium." And all I could think of was, I have no plans. The options I had were to go to my mom's house in the remote area of the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina, or, well, actually, there were no other plans. So I called up one of my best friends ever of all time back in Louisiana, and I asked her if I could come down and stay with her. And she was like, "Sure thing, girl. We're going camping for New Year's Eve. It's near Lafayette, and there's going to be a couchon de lait." And a couchon de lait, for those of y'all who do not know, is a pig roast. If y'all know me, y'all know I do not like camping. It is not my thing. Like, I'll go out in nature. I love nature, but I got to have a bath at the end of the day, right? And I do not like seeing whole animals, especially pigs, roasted on a spit. Like, even in movies, even on set, if it's a fake pig, I can't deal with it. But at the time, I liked being alone a lot less than I disliked camping or disliked couchon de laits. And I wanted to see my best two gills, mainly my two best friends. And so I thought, what better way to bring in the new millennium than with two people who were like two of the top reasons that I made it through high school? And what safer way to bring in the 2000s and potentially the end of the world than in the middle of nowhere with plenty of food all around us? I know I just kind of set up that little tale like something horrible or eventful was going to happen, but alas, like all of us feared back in December 31st of 99, and we kind of oddly anticipated in a weird way to have some drama and almost hope for. There was no computer fallout, no technology malfunction, or even with pagers or beepers or anything when we went from December 31st of 1999 to January 1st of 2000. And I started to realize at that ripe age of 20-something, I was getting too old for the BS of New Year's Eve because, y'all, I'm the type of person who's always much preferred to waking up at 6 a.m. and getting stuff done and winding down when the sun sets in the winter around 5 p.m. and not having to get back out at night. So instead of popping the champagne at 11:59 p.m. on New Year's Eve, I started popping a Benadryl at like 8:59 p.m. so I could just sleep through all the revelry and fireworks and wake up the next morning feeling refreshed instead of hungover. But one year, y'all, living in New York City, or actually Brooklyn rather, I thought I owed it to myself, or maybe my younger high school Brooke self, to take a detour from my usual New Year's Eve Benadryl party and get out for New Year's Eve, like get out and about and go get turned up. So my pal and roommate at the time and a group of her friends, we all went to Alphabet City. Again, like Gabby Hoffman and Christina Ricci from 200 Cigarettes, wandering around the Alphabet City, freezing as hell in heels. And I remember I was also wearing like this fuzzy cape thing from my friend Tom. Tom. Every time I say Tom's name, I gotta go, It's a thing we do. Tom had just given me this fuzzy cape thing for Christmas. It was warm and it was all different shades of pink, and I looked like a big old Muppet. And my friends and I ended up at a random bar. We were just hanging out and like dancing, having a good time on this random little stage area. And then all of a sudden, this Irish man comes over and he told me that he liked my fuzzy cape and he wanted to touch me. And it's kind of awkward, y'all, when you're wearing something that's really like tangible and touch worthy and someone asks if they can touch you, like what's your response? Actually, this happened to me just a couple of nights ago. I was wearing this fuzzy pink coat when my mom and I's best pal Crystal and I went to go see a drag show, the one and only Sherry Vine perform in South Jersey, and we were at this gift shop, and it was this middle-aged woman who came up to me and was like, "Can I touch you?" And what are you going to respond? When someone asks you, the wearer of something super fuzzy and tangible and squishy and cozy, if they could touch you, it's kind of like you have to say yes, because it's kind of really off-brand to respond, "Back the F off," while wearing something so cozy and teddy bear and Muppet-like and fuzzy and pink and looks like a snowball cupcake, right? Am I right, y'all? So back in the day, I let the Irishman touch me. I was like, "Yeah, you could touch me," thinking he's going to like pat my arm or something. But he starts like totally like groping me. And he's hot. He's Irish. But I'm not feeling it for obvious reasons. So I'm so proud of myself. I pieced out of that bar, just booked it out of there. Didn't even wait for my friends or anything. I got on a super crowded subway, the F train, all the way back to Brooklyn. It was like 11:33 p.m. So I ended up ringing the new year in New York City, underground on the F train with New York's finest. And I don't mean the NYPD. So from there on out, I've spent New Year's Eve cozy at home, wearing something fuzzy that no one else gets to touch. And I've transitioned from needing a Benadryl to kind of burrow my sorrows of not wanting to go out or having anywhere wonderful to go out to spending that time journaling or watching anything except the ball dropping or except holiday related with my boyfriend Harry. He usually ends up going to sleep so easily. I think he's got narcolepsy. He passes out snoring around 9:30 p.m. and then I'll journal some more, dumping all of that previous New Year out, just journaling it out. And I started to view New Year's Eve as more of a relaxing experience, more of a transitional experience than a stressful one. Because I no longer choose to have that anxiety of having to figure out something exciting to do or a party to go to that I don't really want to go to or something that does not live up to my expectations. Plus, y'all, the dogs need me at home for fireworks prevention and CBD administration. So now I journal, chill, and I get high essentially on CBD oil with the Pomeranians. It's fun. But I remember back in the day when I was younger, who remembers this? Whether you're from down south or Midwest, New Yorkers, I think y'all do it. Shout out to whoever does it. I'm not quite sure. I'm not very learned with what people in Montana might be doing, for example. But New Year's Day is a thing down south. Of course, we have to make it into a food thing. So we would always go to my momo's house to have the black-eyed peas, the cabbage, and cornbread. And I loved it because we were celebrating the new year and making sure to have health, the black-eyed peas, and wealth, the cabbage. And I'm not sure what the cornbread represented, but it was just pretty, I guess. So when I was younger, it was like New Year's Day was the bonus to Christmas. It was more time spent with my family and with really good food. And I've always loved like a good superstition party at that. I mean, I am from South Louisiana, and that's what New Year's Day felt like to me. And I'm grateful that my mama still carries on that tradition. It may just be me, her, and Harry, but she is always hell-bent on making the peas, the greens, and the cornbread. So that's what I focus on more now. Getting that old plant-based food in and welcoming the new year refreshed and rested instead of nursing a hangover, nursing a big old feeling of post-party disappointment. No, none of that, y'all. One of my best girls is from Mississippi, but she lives near me in Jersey City. And for the longest time, she hasn't done it in a year or two, but for at least 10 years, she recreated what all of us had done back home down south, the big New Year's Day festivity. She would have us over for a party on New Year's Day, and it always included cabbage or collard greens and black-eyed peas. And she would do her take on black-eyed peas, seasoning them Indian style with cardamom. I'm like, this is so like dirty South up in Jersey City, represent. And while falling asleep peacefully at 10 p.m. on December 31st, I knew I had a festivity that was more up to my speed the next day. So I'm really, really grateful for those parties that my friend used to do, because it was starting the new year off right, in my humble opinion, instead of partying like a crazy person and feeling all like horrible the next day. So maybe this may inspire those of y'all who are also like me and have this anxiety related to New Year's Eve and going out with all the drunk drivers or drunk Irish fuzzy feeler uppers out there. Maybe some people are wanting to cut back or trying to quit drinking or other substances. So maybe this might inspire all of us to think of New Year's, the festivities, in a different way, and focus on this week between Christmas and New Year's in a new way to kind of like reset, recharge, regroup, talk like a robot. So stay in, y'all. Focus on yourself. Focus on your year behind you. Focus on your year ahead. I mean, hey, no, scratch that. Let's not focus on our year ahead. That already is giving me anxiety. Y'all feeling me on this? So let's focus on getting those black-eyed peas and greens in the slow cookers overnight to wake up the next day to a meal full of health, wealth, and of course, farts. So one more thing, y'all. While we are on the subject of New Year's, I must also talk about resolutions. I've been over the idea of a resolution since like 1994, when I used to resolve every year to lose weight. Yeah, I started early with that BS. And it just wasn't happening. Every time I made a resolution to lose weight, it never happened. It didn't feel inspired. It felt like I was imposing goals on myself that were too hard to achieve, or that I thought I should, quote unquote, do. So in the past couple of years, I've been hearing around the block or around town, around the self-help genre, instead of doing a resolution, just choose a word for New Year's. It's a lot easier to repeat that word to yourself every day that you get out of bed than it is to work on a resolution that usually is such a bigger, like loftier goal that can't be attained in one day. You can't even repeat like your resolution in one day or achieve it in one day. It's just not attainable in one day. And we don't make those smaller actionable steps to get that resolution because it's just too hard. It just starts to seem too hard after we haven't even gotten any baby steps out. So we get our resolution and we crumble it up and we forget about it. And then we remember it closer to the end of the year in December, like 28th or so. And we're like, I didn't achieve my resolution. This is horrible. I'm a horrible person. Do y'all feel me on this? So choose a word instead. So my word for this year of 2022, it was freedom. And like my New Year's words go, I often don't understand that word choice until the 11th hour, more like the 11th of December. And then I start to understand it. It seems to like start to click and gel. And I'm learning that I want to be free. I want freedom from my own negative traps of talk and everything. So y'all, it's about time for me to start thinking of a new word for the new year of 2023. So I think my word for 2023 for next year will be fun. Because honestly, y'all, the past few years, I've just been going through the motions. Even with my creative stuff, with life, even with the attainment of fun, I've been going through the motions and not having fun. Can y'all relate? COVID and the COVID precautions, they haven't made it easy, but neither has my own anxiety and my own negative self-talk. I've had such a heaviness, pun not intended, cheesy, self-deprecating, overweight joke, get over it. And I've been approaching things lately from like fear or I should, instead of
I get to. Life can be fun. This is fun. I get to have fun. I get to do this. I get to be alive. Okay, that's a little Pollyanna even for me. But I do want to say, let's be easy on ourselves. Let's be easy on each other. Especially this time of year, right? We are still coming back from nearly 3 life-changing, tumultuous years, y'all. I gotta say, I am super grateful for y'all, my listeners. This marks the end. Oh, Brooke is fixing to get some feelings and cry. Wah, wah. Nope. This marks the end of season 1 of Who's Dat Fat Girl, y'all. I didn't know what I was getting into when I started this. I really didn't know. One of my friends had said, you should do a podcast. And I thought, yeah, I've got some tales to tell. And doing stand-up comedy is way too late at night for me. And I have a voiceover booth. And I just knew I wanted to tell tales about my journey, about all different parts of my journey, from the middle to right now, to the beginnings, from food to feelings to fatness with a PH and everything in between, in order to help others, hopefully, in their own journeys of any kind. And y'all have all braved it with me. At times when I didn't make sense, at times when I went on tangent, and at times when I lost my shit. I was trying not to curse. Season 2? I don't necessarily have a plan for it yet, written down. I have plans in my head, but I promise I'll bring even more fatness with a PH. I'm not going to lie, y'all. It's not always easy. It's not always even fun to do this, I'm sad to say, because each episode, it does take a lot of work. It takes planning. It takes editing and stuff. But since my word of the new year of 2023 is fun, I will approach this podcast at every aspect of life with a bit more fun. Instead of I have to, it's I get to, right? I get to share some tales with y'all. What's your word of the new year? Let me know. Let me know, y'all. Maybe your new word is fat. Pretty hot and tempting.
Thanks so much for listening, y'all. It is my hope to inspire, uplift, and entertain you with this Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. So, if you're hungry for more, you can book me to speak or perform my solo show that inspired this podcast, Fat Girl Costumes, written by yours truly and directed by Brian Lady at your virtual or in-person event. Please visit brookehoover.com/fluffybuttproductions or email me at contactbrookhoover@gmail.com for more info. And let's follow each other on Instagram. I'm at Brooke Hoover, and the O's in my name are not the letter O, they're zeros. Not because I want to be a size 0, but because I guess I'm just so clever with my late 90s Yahoo self. And if you like this podcast, which I really hope you do, please give me a 5-star rating and write a review on Apple Podcasts. And most importantly, share this with your friends, family, and other people you may know who are as fat as we are. That's fat with a PH.